When I bet, I like getting something back, even if I lose. That's why I bet with Fanatic Sportsbook. When I bet with them, I earn fan cash, win or lose, and I can flip fan cash into bonus bets or use it for new Knicks apparel at Fanatics.com. Download the Fanatic Sportsbook app and let the fan cash flow. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut residents call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts residents call 800-327-5050. New York residents call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland residents visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatic Sportsbook. I'm DJ Zullo, here with you with my man Mensa Smith as we talk about another unfortunate Knicks Summer League outing as they fall to 0-2 in the Summer League action, losing to the Boston Celtics 94-81 in a game that had some bright spots, but they were few and far between. We will do our best to put some shine on those moments, but we will talk about any and all of it, which unfortunately we'll have to have some hard conversations, not some overreactions, but some reactions that need to happen regarding what we've seen over the past 2 games. But before we do any or all of it, Mensa, good Sunday evening to you. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm not sure if you got this through because there's a lot going on over here, but I wanted to shout out Fanatic Sportsbook for sponsoring this episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Everybody go put your money in and get some gambling done with Fanatic Sportsbook. But now with that out of the way, I like that you started with the uncomfortable conversations that need to be had about some players. The good news is, guys, and again, we'll keep hammering this home, Summer League is not the end-all be-all for the New York Knicks anymore. The New York Knicks are an NBA title contender, and we have to keep that in context when we are evaluating, these basketball players, because I don't know if I'm looking for a star player to show up, but I do want to see somebody that on March 17th, can you give me 17 good minutes of basketball, right? And I think with guys like Kevin McCullough, that's what I'm looking for. With guys like Pacome Dadier, with guys like Diawara, I'm not sure if he'll make the roster. Hukporti, Kolek, these are the names that we're looking at. Beauchamp as well. Those are the main characters of this summer league. And it's been a mixed bag so far for some players. For other players, it's been really discouraging. And for other players, it's been really encouraging. So with that out the way, I guess I'll just start by shouting out the star of the show tonight, Kevin McCullough, who not only did he lead the Knicks in points with 30, but he also led the Knicks in personal fouls with 8, which is not ideal. But
yeah, him and Jordan Walsh had their own private duel to see who would lead the game in fouls.
I think looking at the numbers, and I think our guy got him by 1. So
there you go.
We're leaving here with something.
Yes, sir.
as we like to say. Not a lot of 3-point shooting for any of the guys. McCullough himself was 1 for 5, and just looking at the box score right now, no Knick hit more than 1 3 tonight, which is less than ideal. And you can't win games in summer league and preseason, in the NBA regular season, in the postseason, if you're not hitting your threes. So that wasn't encouraging. But as I was watching the game, and I know what the box score says, the process for these guys felt like we didn't get the results, but I did like McCullough's aggression. I like Dadier's aggression. I liked what I saw out of Hukporti with the 13 rebounds. I liked a lot of what I saw from Diawara in his 23-minute stint. So while the Knicks did not win the basketball game and it wasn't an encouraging showing altogether, there were moments that lead me to believe that there's something there with a lot of these players. So I'll leave, and that's where I'll leave it for now.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you went positive to start, which is needed, because I think there was good things that occurred. And I thought there was good things that happened in the first game. But I think it is time to transition to maybe some of those uncomfortable conversations. And, when the Knicks drafted Tyler Kolek in the second round, traded up to get him, at the time gave him, I think, the richest contract ever given to a second round pick. At a 4-year senior player, played a lot of games at Marquette. There was a lot of thought that he was going to come in close to NBA ready and be able to play NBA minutes pretty quickly. Now, there were times last year where he looked the part during the regular season at spotty minutes. I thought he played well at times, but, didn't play enough to have a great feel for what he was going to be for the next 5 years, potentially as a New York Knick. So for him specifically, coming into this summer league, it was incumbent upon him to show not just the fans, but the guy sitting courtside, Mike Brown, like, listen, I can play regular season minutes in the NBA right now. And Mensa, I got to tell you, he has shown very little in terms of on-court ability through these 2 games. Now, they're just 2 games, and we have to couch that and caveat that. But through these 2 games, despite some real bright spots, I think, as a transition playmaker in the first game, but there was very little to take away from this game 2 and the positive end for Tyler Kolek. And at 24 years old, and a guy that, again, played a ton of minutes at a good school against really good competition, you want to see him in this setting perform admirably. He's not going to dominate the game because his game doesn't lend itself to that, but can you control the basketball game? And right off the bat, I thought it was actually pretty telling that the first possession, they had Kolek off the ball, and they ran him off a wide pin into a floater that he missed. He missed most of his shots, by the way. I think he finished 1 for 12 on the night, and I think
I have 1 for 13.
1 for 13, and then missed, I think, all his threes. Really rough shooting night. And in the first quarter, it seemed like the Knicks were doing their part to try to get him away from the ball pressure, which to me was a red flag right there. Because despite ball pressure by a team, you would think your point guard can handle that and then make them pay by touching the paint often and spraying that ball out. He could not generate any offense against the ball pressure of the Celtics, and had a lot of trouble in the half court in the first summer league game, generating any sort of advantage against that ball pressure. And to me, coming into his Knicks career, how he can generate advantages within the half court was always going to be the big issue for him. And through 2 summer league games, that has been a giant alarming red flag. And I think you would have to be fair about this, and I'm on the positive end about Tyler Kolek as a player. This was specifically in the half court against a pressure defense, an alarming performance in game 2 and most of game 1.
Yeah, I'm happy you did most of the talking about Tyler Kolek, because I was the Tyler Kolek Negative Nancy last post-game show, and I kind of wanted to be a little easier on him, but he was a lot worse today than he was last game. It's not good. One of the things that I pointed out is that he's played more basketball than most of these guys in summer league, with the 4 years in a Division I program and then 1 year between the big club with the Knicks and the Westchester Knicks. He's practiced with both clubs. Like, you want to see him be more in control of these basketball games. And today he was anything but in control. 1 for 13 from the field, 0 for 6 from the floor. I have him with 4 assists to 4 turnovers. Like, that's just not going to get it done. And this is a very important summer for Tyler Kolek, because the Knicks need to know, can we rely on you going forward, or are you going to end up being a throw-in into a trade, right? The richest contract in it really is the richest second-round contract in NBA history, which led a lot of people to believe that he was going to be NBA ready. But at the end of the day, it is a second-round pick, and we do have to temper our expectations that way. And then there's also Dadier, who came from that draft class. There's Huck Porty, who came from that draft class. And there's McCullough, who came from the draft class. So I did see a lot of Twitter floating around where people are saying, oh, well, it was a bad pick. It may have been. It may be eventually a bad pick. But the draft itself, there was still value considering where the Knicks picked. But getting back to Tyler Kolek here, it really is not what you want to see. You want to see a basketball player more in control. If you cannot deal with a full court press in summer league, what value are you to this Knicks roster that's going to have Jalen Brunson with the ball in his hands a lot, that's going to have some sets ran with Karl Anthony Towns as a hub, with Mikal Bridges? We want to see, can you be a secondary or tertiary ball handler for this team at the NBA level? And in order to be that, you got to be able to handle the ball in summer league. And we just have not been able to get anything reliable out of him. And I think he's been the negative story. Like, he's been the story because of all of the hype, if you can even call it that, the relative hype around who he is supposed to be with this team. And it's just not what you want to see.
Yeah. And we don't know like what Mike Brown requires from a backup point guard. He could be completely fine with Deuce and Jordan Clarkson and figure it out that way. But I think there is probably some hope there that Kolek was going to display enough credibility here in the summer league and through the training camp period and preseason to maybe give them the feeling that they can rely on him, especially if Jalen Brunson misses time, which we assume, he's going to miss a handful of games this year. There's going to be a need for Tyler Kolek potentially to play NBA minutes this season. And look, there's things that about summer league that might just put him in a situation where he's never going to be at his very best based on just the franticness of it. I think McCullough actually may lean into that a little more and prosper in that environment versus Kolek, who might need a more stabilized system and will look better in a more orchestrated NBA offense. But you thought, this is the other part about the half court stuff. Him not being an advantage creator may never come. But if you think about the transition ability that he has, and I think it's real, and you think about his ability to play in a 2-on-1 scenario as a lob thrower or as a player playing off 2 feet with a floater, I think that's going to be something he can do. But the other aspect of his game that he's going to have to show is like he's got to make 40% of his catch and shoot threes at a minimum to be an effective half-court player. Because if you can do that with the other things I just talked about, then with the transition ability, you can really see him being a real rotation player in the NBA. So the 0 for 6 from 3, and they were all short and didn't look great. And we know shooting off the dribble has never been something, going back to Marquette, that he has truly developed or shown in a 5-on-5 scenario. So that's an open question as well. I think the issue here is that we still have a lot of questions about him as a player. And I think there are more questions about him potentially as an NBA player than is comfortable right now. And I thought going into Summer League 2, after the minutes he's played in these 2 games, we'd have more answers. But to me, there's just more questions. And I think that's where some of the concern and the alarm is generating from. A guy like Kolek, even if you don't view him as a long-term rotation player, I think the fact is you'd want to have more answers to the questions than a lot more questions to the test at this point. And we have so many more questions. And that's where I think over the next handful of games here in the Summer League, he can still answer some. And that's what he's going to have to do going forward, because we haven't even talked about the other end of the floor. And I thought I tweeted this out. Like, luckily he was so bad on offense that no one's talking about his defense, especially in the second half. It was terrible. I mean, tragically bad. And that's never going to be a strong suit. So just not a fun 2 games for Tyler Kolek, and hopefully he can turn it, but there's not a lot to take from it. And I'm trying to pull some positivity out of these 2 games. And other than some, transition action there's just not a lot right now for him.
Yeah. I'm happy that you brought up the environment thing, because that was one thing that I was thinking about as I'm watching the game. I'm like, maybe he's just not suited for this environment, even though he did a lot better in last year's Summer League. Maybe because I'm thinking, like, what kind of player does well in the Summer League environment? You kind of have to be physically dominant, right? And that's not Tyler Kolek. And we saw that with Ron Holland against us last game, where we just had no answers for him. He could tell that athletically, like, as a prospect, he was on a different level, right? Tyler Kolek is a little closer to the median there in terms of his athleticism for the Summer League, and he's not showing that he can dominate games. And like you said, we don't want him to dominate, and that's not his game in the first place. But you do want to see him be more in control. So maybe in a different environment, maybe where, because I felt like he had some good passes and the team just sold him out. Like he had Dadier wide open in the corner. Dadier misses it. These are the things that maybe with better teammates, he would have his game would have looked a little bit better. But at the same time, you have to earn the right to play with better teammates in the summer league. And I don't feel like he's earned that right so far. And it's just been really disappointing. I guess maybe we should transition to some of the other guys. I really did like Kevin McCullough Jr. tonight. I know I started speaking about him, but what was encouraging more than anything else was his ability to handle the ball. I thought that when the Celtics went to that pressure defense, that full court pressure, our only answer seemed to be Kevin McCullough Jr., which is good because he is a guy who, played a lot like Tyler Kolek, played a lot of minutes. I think he played for Kansas. I'm not sure. I think he maybe came out as his junior year or senior year. So I don't know if he's had as much experience as Tyler Kolek, but he's had experience in high pressure environments. And chances are we don't get him where we get him if he does not have the injury that ends his season at Kansas. So we're starting to see some of that roundabout. He was good in the first game, but this game he really stood out, I did appreciate the way he played today, for sure.
Yeah, lived at the rim, finished well, got to the free throw line a bunch, made his free throws. There were some, unfortunate reads that he made in terms of turning the ball over, but also like in some 2-on-1 scenarios with high ball screens, got into the paint, was able to find the big a couple of times. So those paint reads were good, and just felt like he belonged on the floor, and his aggression, physicality just showed out in this game. Physically, he's 24 years old as well. He is a very strong driver, and that's the thing that stands out. Not an above the rim finisher, but gets really low pad level on his drives. It can go through contact. So his strength and his maturity as a human being is just a very, very advantageous in this scenario. And I talked about the frantic nature of it really, I think, accentuates what he does well as a player, but showing how well-rounded he was coming out of college. And that has been on display over these two games. Like, he's not elite at anything really, but he's solid in enough categories to where you can see him carving out an NBA career. If the shot, which is still an open question specifically from three, if that comes around, then I think he's got a good chance to be an NBA player. It's always going to, he's got the 3-and-D aspect of what he can be. I think defensively he can get there. Doesn't have great size, but he seems to be a pretty good playmaker, and like I mentioned, physically strong. So if he can develop a competent shot from deep, I think he can be an NBA pro, and that's going to be the swing skill for him. But I agree with you in terms of the performance tonight. Just really, I thought the fouls, by the way, also some were just really bad calls. Like, he had a couple where in the DHOs where he doesn't put the brakes on quick enough, and he kind of runs into a Celtic and they flop, and they call it was almost like the officials were predetermining those or had those as like a priority to call, and they got him for 2 or 3 on those on the night. So I don't think he performed that poorly in the foul game, if you consider the box score, but just a really solid performance by him. And he's always been like the third guy we talk about when we speak about the draft class last year, because he was injured. He didn't play until late in the year. But in terms of NBA skills, he's a wing. He can do a lot of things. Again, the shot is going to be the swing skill, but he might check more boxes than any of the other 2 Knicks that were brought in last year at this point. Dadier will get to the point where he can match him or exceed him. But right now, McCullough just checks a lot of NBA boxes right now. And that's where you have some hope that he can develop into a rotation wing and play 15, 20 minutes on a good NBA roster. That's the hope. It's still a long shot considering where he was drafted and the shot issues, but it's there for him. And I think that's a great sign for where he is, where he was drafted, and what the Knicks have for him going forward.
Yeah, definitely. He has a lot of the tools that you want from an NBA basketball player. But more importantly than the tools for me was the effort that I'd seen on both ends of the court. And it's just great that his story is an excellent story going undrafted, or I don't think we drafted him because I think we took Hawk Porty was like 57th and McCullough may have been like 59th or 60th. But either way, it was great. It's great to see where he's at in this point in his career, considering the career threatening injury he had to do a lot of rehab. Very happy that, there's at least one silver lining there. Going back to the wings, Diawara.
Let's talk about him.
He played some good basketball today.
He did.
Really did. I don't have his numbers in front of me at the moment.
I got you. So on the night, so he played 22 minutes, 5 points, 3 rebounds, and assists, 2 steals, 2 of 4 from the field. Doesn't jump off the page, but what does, and this is always going to be game to game. You don't want to talk always about plus minus, but a +2 on a night the Knicks were down 20 most of the evening. So I think there was something to that actually.
Yeah, for sure. It was good to see that he got the interview after the first quarter, because it felt like that first quarter just the Knicks didn't come out firing, didn't come out playing well. And then he comes in off the bench and gives us some energy. And like you said, the stats don't jump off the page, but when you're watching him play, you see, is he, like Sean was saying, is he 2 years away, or is he 2 years from being 2 years away? And I think he's 2 years away, but but it's good that, again, considering where this guy was drafted, taken in the 50s, I think we had the 51st pick and traded down one to 52nd, and the usual Knicks chicanery. And 23 solid minutes of basketball tonight. It is important to me that in a game where we were getting our teeth kicked in the whole night, that he is one of the sole players with a positive plus minus, because it kind of confirms, the eye test that, hey, when this guy's playing, you're getting the effort, you're getting the energy, you're getting the process that you want from a basketball player in his position, right? A lot of these guys, they come into summer league and they don't have the right mentality, right? Where it's like, I need to shine individually, when the best way to shine individually is to shine within the team concept at the summer league level. And I feel like he got the picture. He got the point. Another guy with experience playing basketball in Europe. So you're seeing the IQ come through. And again, I'll leave it there, but I was really happy with the way he played today.
Yeah, I agree with you. Had a drive against full court pressure that he got to the rim, drew a foul, had another drive, lefty finish, and one. I thought his most impressive play was a grab and go where he creates a 3 on the other end. Just you mentioned the word process when you were talking about him, and that's the thing where typically when you get these like raw-ish, rangy wings, you're banking on the athleticism to carry the game until the skill level develops and the processing develops. Well, I think he can process the game at a pretty high level, especially for where the Knicks drafted him. Like when he has the ball in his hands, I don't panic, where typically I think a player of his size and, he's a legitimate 6'8", like he's a giant wing. I think people are maybe underestimating like how you can probably play him at center in like 2-3 years as he fills out. Like he's a legitimate 6'8", 6'9", 7'5" wingspan. But when he's dribbling the ball up the floor, it's almost like, should I be panicking here? But he kind of gets to where he needs to go. And when he gets into a situation where he's got to get the ball out, a driving kick, he has an ability to find shooters. And that's the processing that you talked about that I think is the most impressive aspect to his on the floor game. The thing that jumps out with him, though, and you mentioned the effort, like he is a special player in terms of like his motor, and it's like ball pressure, full court. It's trying to get every offensive rebound, every defensive rebound. He probably is too aggressive in this setting. Like he's gotten blown by a couple of times because he's overextending, but I would love that to like have to tamp down a little bit versus trying to go the other way and like trying to prop a guy up and have them apply more pressure. But I compared him to a little bit less athletic Gerald Wallace when the Knicks drafted him, just the way he moves and the fact that he's a small forward, like power forward kind of hybrid, but is bigger than he looks on paper. Like you look at his like measurements and then you watch him play and he just seems a little bit longer, a little bit stronger, and a little more athletic. And that's the NBA level athleticism that just isn't what you do in a workout setting. What can you do on the court? And he has shown some really intriguing things. I'm not expecting him to play any minutes for the team this year, the big club, but it just feels like the Knicks have something here. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think they have something, and that's a pretty exciting point to be in, considering where where he drafted him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
When you talk about the height, the weight, and the height, weight, speed, the wingspan, 6'8" with a 7'5" wingspan, you're looking at the athleticism. It's almost like if this guy was playing for the University of Illinois, maybe he goes a full round ahead when you're watching the way he thinks the game and the way he plays the game. So it is very encouraging that the Knicks were able, and shout out to the Knicks scouting department for finding this guy. Shout out to Pacome Dadier, who I believe is a friend of him, and they share the same agent. So it's really good to see that we got him on the team. Is there any other players you want to touch on before we get to I think we have one super chat?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we should mention Huck Porty.
Sure.
It's always tough for bigs to have great summer, unless you're like a dominant shot blocker or elite above the rim finisher like Mitchell Robinson, his first summer league. It's hard to really kind of shine, and especially when your point guard is unable to help you out. Shout out Tyler Kolek. But Huck Porty, listen, he's rebounding the basketball, and he is a presence at the rim. His finishing, I think, has been a little bit spotty. I do like the fact that his free throws, and I'll have to go back to juxtapose it to last year, but it seems like the shot looks better from the free throw line. That's an encouraging sign. He didn't make a floater in this one, but had that really crazy, audacious floater from about 15 feet out in the first game. The short roll, intermediate, short mid-range stuff, I think for him in terms of touch is an impressive area for him. And I think he can develop that, especially as he plays in a system that's going to generate him some advantages. But I thought he was just solid in this game. And then the last one, Dadier, again, numbers aren't jumping off the page. And I said this, the first summer league, he just processes the game in a really nice way for a player as young as he is. Not making shots, but the shot looks good. And I know he's going to have to start converting them at a higher rate, but I really don't worry too much about the shooting off the catch. I think it's going to be there. Now, what is there in terms of on-ball creation? I do think he made a few reads with the ball in his hands that were nice. Very limited. Knicks didn't prioritize that. In this one, I thought it was just hard for the Knicks to get into any semblance of an offense. So maybe you got to just caveat that. Maybe as we go to Summer League 3, they can, assuming he plays, because he did leave the game, I think, with a foot soreness. So we don't know if maybe the Knicks shut him down. But if he is to play another game in the Summer League, so hope we can see him on the ball a little more, because I do think the reads there are impressive. Got the one floater. I think he's getting into the situation where he made the mid-range jumper in game one, tried to take a similar one off a ball screen, and this one got blocked. I think he just needs to get more comfortable taking that extra dribble, get into the paint, and then spray it out, because I think he's really good, not only getting that drive and kick out, but also relocating back out to space. Like, he doesn't linger. He just processes the game in a nice way where he gets into the paint and then he's out to space, and then the Knicks can keep the dominoes falling, and he could be part of that, where if he's just lingering after passing it, you could sort of clutter everything up. So just a nice game for him in spots. Had a nice closeout opportunity that Kolek created for him, where it was just a catch and go, right, left dribble between the legs, got into the paint. His ability to attack closeouts, I think, is going to be an advantage for him, especially if the shooting comes along. So I thought he performed well when he had the opportunities. And then, we should mention Beauchamp, who, is trying to get an NBA career back online, just had nothing in this game. We don't need to analyze any more than that. Like, it was a really unfortunate performance for him. And it's one of those like summer league moments where, the kid's got pressure on him to try to carve out an NBA career again. And it just was bad from the start. It never got better. And you would think for him playing NBA minutes for the Milwaukee Bucks that he'd be more assertive and perform better in this environment, but it just wasn't there for him. That was just disappointing for him as a human being, because we know he's got a lot riding on this summer league.
Yeah. three really good hits there. Dottier, I tweeted that he needs to hit more shots, but he didn't do anything today that I didn't like. He had this really nice drive where he was attacking the closeout, had a zero wasted motion crossover, got to the rim, finished with his left hand. I thought that was beautiful. I think he hit 1 3 today. I think he's one of the few guys who hit a 3. Yes, he was 1 for 5.
Yeah.
But
had a nice driving kick to Pate. Didn't make the shot, but again, the process to create the shot was nice.
Yeah. He's playing the game the right way. He's not getting the shots to fall. But like you, I don't quite worry about that. He's a bit too young for me to be worrying about the shot not falling. He has a lot of talent, a lot of athleticism, and the process is good with him. Huck Porty, another guy I'm not worried about. I saw him play valuable minutes for the Knicks in the regular season last year. He's a guy that I know is more of everybody on the Knicks roster. I expect him to play the most regular season minutes. On the Knicks Summer League roster, I expect him to play the most regular season minutes. Had 13 rebounds, 22 minutes. Huck is Huck. I'm happy to see him develop. Definitely looking forward to see what he can do as a passer because he does come from the European side of the game. And it just seems like the Knicks are prioritizing getting those guys in the program with Huck Porty, with Dottier, with Diawara, all coming in the last calendar year or so, like 12, 13 months. It seems like the Knicks want that process in the building. At least the scouting department in the front office. So I like to see how he can develop in a Mike Brown system. And then again with Beauchamp, it is disappointing because you've been in the league longer than everybody. You should have an NBA body. You should be NBA ready. And if for nothing else, you should be able to come out there and look different physically. And for us to not see anything, to get the 0 for 3 from 3, 0 for 5 to play 16 of the possible 40 minutes. It's not looking great for him. So I do hope that he gets another opportunity this summer league to show us a little bit more because he was on one of our two-way contracts last year. So I do think the Knicks would like to see if he can give him anything. But it was disappointing to see him the way he performed for sure.
I agree. And then, just really quickly, Najee only played 9 minutes. I'm not sure what was going on there. If there was maybe an injury or something, didn't look amazing in those few minutes. I will say, like, physically, it's an interesting. I don't remember him being as well defined. Like, he is a giant human being, well proportioned, physically strong, but also in the limited time doesn't seem like he gets off the ground well. And I remember him being a little more explosive. And then just looking at some of the just photos and video of him a couple of years ago, he's definitely like filled out. And it's all muscle, so he's not like eating his way out of the league. But I always wonder about guys that are, above average athletes that get really big. And it just seems like he has maybe gone a little bit too far in that area. And then, Dink Pate, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. In the game action he had when the game was, quasi competitive, didn't really show much. I think I wanted to see more from him in these 2 games athletically. Like, I don't love the athleticism right now. Again, very limited minutes, so maybe it's just the setting, and we'll see more from him. But I wanted to see more agility, athleticism, especially guarding the basketball. I feel like he has not been great in that area. Has been okay in transition on both ends of the floor. Like, he's had some nice transition defensive possessions, and then shooting wise, it's just a really funky shot. It's way over his head. It's a 2 motion, a lot of kinks to have to work out, a lot of variables. So can he become a good NBA shooter? Like, there's going to have to be a lot of work for him just to develop competency in that area. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on those 2 Knicks before we transition? I think we have one super chat before we bid adieu, but anything on Najee or Pate?
So with Pate, when the Knicks, when it was announced that he was going to be joining the Knicks Summer League team, I quickly looked up his G League stats, and they were not pretty. It's really ugly. So we've got a super chat up, so I'll wrap up really quickly. I didn't have many expectations for Dink Pate. Najee a little more because Najee was a high 2nd round pick, but I do think I do see what you're seeing with the weight. And look, it's cool that you can be 300 pounds, all muscle. I don't think that's where the NBA is right now. I think you need to slim down. The game is played at a much faster pace. Like if this was dead ball era basketball, sure, you'd be fine. But it's not quite what we want from him. And hopefully we see more than 9 minutes because I really don't have much to say about him.
Yeah. You haven't had much to go off yet.
Yeah. So I do need, but please slim down, sir, because we do have your draft rights.
Yes, sir. My bad on the quick trigger, by the way.
No, it's fine. We can go to it.
That's poor point guard play from me. I'm just Tyler Kolek has rubbed off on me a little bit here, but let's go right back to it. Kevin Danichevsky, 1029. What's up, Kevin? Checking in. Thank you for the contribution. K-Mac looked good. I agree. We agree. I critique Tibbs, and I'm proud none of them centered around Kolek. Is what it is. I guess not a great miss with AJ Wells right there. Yeah, I mean, there were NBA. Wells is definitely an NBA player. I assume AJ is going to be an NBA player for a long time. So it's always stings when you have guys there that are going to be pros going forward, and one that's going to be a wing that that's probably going to make $100 million in the NBA eventually. So that's never a good sign. And it does, look, I don't know what the deliberation was, but when you have, and this is not a new thought here. This has been talked about plenty on Knicks Twitter regarding when you have Jalen Brunson, does it make sense to bring in another small guard that's going to struggle to play with him? Even if Kolek maxes out, there's going to be a limit to how many minutes he's going to play in a Jalen Brunson ball club. So yeah, we've talked plenty about Kolek, his performance tonight. Mensa, it's not good enough. And there's still time for him to turn around. There's 2 more summer league games, so he's only halfway there. But right now, and if you factor in who the Knicks could have drafted, not looking good.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of valid critiques for Tom Thibodeau. The one that I never understood is, he doesn't play the kids more. Look at the kids. Look at the kid. The kid isn't too great. But yeah, I guess. Especially with definitely Wells, not getting Wells and having Tyler Kolek and paying Tyler Kolek the richest second round contract and all the, that's not great stuff. You never know who, and we'll never know who or what drove that pick. But again, looking at the totality of the draft, getting Pacome Dadier at 25, getting Huck Porty, and also finding Kevin McCullough, there's still more value to be extracted from the 2024 draft. It
Agreed.
Just, as of today, doesn't look like it's going to come in the form of Tyler Kolek.
Yep, at least right now. And it's a good point you're making about just the nature of picking where the Knicks were picking. You've made that point a couple of times, even where Dadier was selected. I mean, the odds of a guy being a 5 to 8 year NBA pro, late first round, early second round, the odds are very slim. So we do have to consider that. And yeah, there's always going to be players in the second round that you wish you took, but there are plenty of teams that wish they had those 2 players as well. So we can always do that. I think if you look at it, and it's a fair way of looking at it, Mensa, if you look at the draft in totality, I think you have, one guy that played real NBA minutes, meaningful minutes in Huck Porty. And I think, I agree with you. I think he's probably the most likely one, considering the centers in front of him and the injury risk there, that he's going to play real minutes this upcoming year. McCullough, we've talked about at, plenty for this game, played well. And then Dadier has shown promise. So I think overall, you got to feel good with who they brought in last season. And there's still plenty of time for Kolek to turn this thing around as well. I don't want this come off as that we are writing off Tyler Kolek. Mensa, you are not as high on him as I am, but you are also being very measured in your criticism regarding what this is. 2 summer league games. We were not overreacting, but we do have to call a spade. And the performances have just not been good enough, and we wanted to see more. That's I think where we agree.
Definitely.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you checking in with us. I think we got another one that rolled in here over the last minute.
Yeah, I'll take
Jason. Oh, go ahead.
All right, Jason M, NYC, my guy Jason Meredith. Thanks for the contribution
up,
here. He says, I watched every game Kolek played in Westchester. I've never seen him play this bad. I'm at a loss for words. Extremely worrying. Yeah, and that's another thing, is that there's more tape on Tyler Kolek at this level than 2 summer league games in the summer of 2025. He has G League tape, which isn't much different from the summer league. Maybe there's more high-end talent in summer league with the first-round picks that get in, but Kolek, there's more tape out there on him, right? Has this been discouraging? Yes. Is it worrying? Absolutely. But the story is not over. That's what I'll say. Does it make sense? And then when you start thinking about like the fit with Jalen Brunson, which is a great point. Short guard, can't really defend, needs the ball in his hands. Maybe he's not the best fit with Jalen Brunson. That doesn't necessarily mean that Tyler Kolek is going to be a bad NBA basketball player. And I don't want to make it as though these, 2 summer league games are the nail in the coffin for this guy, right? There's still more summer league basketball to play. Hopefully he turns it around, and most of his tape tells you that he will, that this is not the last that you're going to see of Tyler Kolek.
Yeah. I think the biggest disappointment, at least right now for me, is that you would think he would have developed, if he was ever going to develop it, an ability to, when a guy is going to ball pressure him, just get right by him. Like you can't, like there were times where the defender was he was attached so heavily to Kolek that the screener had no window to set the screen. You are allowing ball pressure to dictate the action when you can't even set the screen. And then on the other end, because what the Knicks ended up doing was having him more off the ball and trying to run him into DHOs. Even in those, how many times did the big have to reject the DHO because there was no space to deliver the ball? So there was just so many times where the Celtics and even the Pistons in game 1, maybe to a lesser degree, but it happened, where the ball pressure and then the man-to-man pressure off the ball was to the point where they couldn't even generate the action they were trying to put forth. And that's the stuff that you worry that will never fully develop, because we do have to, and this is the issue when you draft a player 23, 24 years old, there's less room for him to get better. It's just a fact of life in that area. So can he develop more agility, more explosion? Can he develop a handle that's going to be able to beat ball pressure consistently? I don't know. And I think that's where I have the most alarm. And because if he can't do that, then it becomes just really tough. He has to be an elite shooter. He's going to have to be elite in transition and be passable on defense to figure out a way to be a rotation guard. But he's got real things stacked up against him. But agree with you in the sense that we still have a lot of time here to write the full Tyler Kolek story as a New York Knick, and there's plenty of chapters to be written. But we need to see these next 2 games, assuming he plays, starting Tuesday against the Nets. He has to play better. He just does. I think it's not a critical game. You can't have a critical summer league game but for him and for the coaching staff, again, you can't understate this. He's in full showcase mode to make sure he is telling Mike Brown and that coaching staff and the front office, I can play in this league and I can be someone you can count on as a team trying to win a championship. And I think he's got to start answering those questions, and he's got to start on Tuesday to get some of those answers, because right now he's not answering any of them. And that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Just wanted to really quickly I quickly pulled up his Westchester stats. He played 4 games for the Westchester Knicks last year. And the thing that I'm really looking at here are the shooting splits. So yeah, not encouraging here. He had a .518 true shooting percentage and an EFG of 447. He was in those 4 games, he attempted about 6 3-pointers a game, made 1.8. So he's around 29%. Yeah, 29.2% from 3. Field goal percentage, just raw field goal percentage share of 39.4. So maybe it doesn't come around. Maybe the shooting doesn't come around, but it looks like we may have an uphill battle here for sure. So hopefully he wins the uphill battle. But like you're saying, the battle continues on Tuesday the 15th for Tyler Kolek. And we're all rooting for him because we're all Knicks fans. But he has to show us more, definitely.
Yeah, Before we wrap up, any other things you're looking forward to besides the Tyler Kolek retribution game? Anything else on Tuesday that you want to see? Any questions you're still trying to get answered?
I try not to draw conclusions for Summer League in the first place, but I think that I've seen enough about each player's process to be encouraged or discouraged. What I want to see on Tuesday, Pacom Dadier, can you make 2 threes? Can you hit 2 threes for me? If you could do that, I'll be very encouraged. I just want to see the Knicks hit more threes going forward. They've been awful from 3 the first 2 games. So because the process is there. Can Diawara get some more minutes? Can McCullough build on his strong summer? Can Dadier have a bounce back game? He had a really good game 1, not so much this game. Can he get more results? So I'm really more looking forward to seeing how our wings play, how Diawara plays, how Dadier plays, Kevin McCullough, and to a lesser extent, Marjon Beauchamp.
Agreed. I think, in terms of like some micro stuff, I would love to, because we haven't seen a lot of it, like more Huck Porty in a short roll. If you can get some possessions there, because I think he needs to continue to develop that area. And it's going to be, when you play with Jalen Brunson, you have to be good in the short roll. Didn't see a ton from Cat. We know Mitch struggles in that area. I think Huck Porty could be very good in the short roll. So we're looking forward to that. I agree with you with Dadier, just shot making, but more on-ball reps for him. Continue to see what he does as a processor. And then I'm just loving all the Diawara minutes. So as many as we can get from him, I'm happy. And I think we will end it there. Thank you to everyone that tuned in, that checked in after another unfortunate Knicks outing. But as sicko Knicks fans, 2 of them on your screen right now, and everyone listening, we were locked in, and we will be locked in on Tuesday. I will be here again Tuesday after the game to break it down. If you haven't yet, please like this video, subscribe to our channel as we continue to grow our YouTube. KFS blowing up. So please do that. Leave a 5-star rating wherever you're listening to this podcast if you're doing the audio thing. And Mensa, thank you for joining. Pleasure to do with you. And we will talk to all of you very soon. Take care.